Welcome to the German Development Institute. My name is Tanja Vogel. I'm here today with my dear colleague Tilman Altenburg. He's Head of Department Sustainable Economic and Social Development here at the German Development Institute. And the reason why I'm here is I want to talk with him about a research project, a 4-year research project that he's just finalized. And yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tilman, with different research partners around the world, you explored how China, India, and several European countries develop low-carbon technologies. Why do you think this is a relevant topic for research?
Well, the global leaders of the G7 just agreed this last year, 2015, to fully decarbonize the world economy until 2100. So this is the first time really a decision has been taken to radically change the way we do our economics. And billions of dollars will be spent on low carbon technology development and deployment. And Europe is, as we know, among the leading regions of the world in terms of developing these technologies, wind turbines, electric vehicles, solar panels and that kind of technologies. And we gain from that in terms of competitive advantages, jobs being created and so on. So this will become a major driving force of our economic structural change. But we see also that countries like China and India are also increasingly recognizing the economic potential that is in this low carbon development, technology development. And we see, for example, that out of 10 wind turbine producers globally, the top 10, 4 are Chinese companies, 1 is an Indian company. So these companies have joined the race for who gains the lead in low carbon technology development, both because they recognize that decarbonization is a must also for those countries, but also because they see that if the if the economy is driven by this new generation of technologies, they have to be part of the game.
Thanks for explaining the context. So what was exactly your research question?
Well, the research question is about what kind of technological pathways do different economies pursue. We looked at 3 European nations, France, Germany and Denmark, for different technologies, and China and India. And we compared how they develop their technologies, whether different technologies emerge in these countries or not. What we know from technology development generally is that it responds to specific demand conditions, to specific the purchasing power that people have. For example, if we see at the type of cars that the Americans drive, or the Indians or the Italians, they're all very different. So technologies develop specific to their respective locations. And this is particularly true for low carbon technologies because they are driven by political incentives, whether the government provides incentives for energy storage, for example, for electric vehicles, is very nation specific. And therefore, the firms respond differently. And this is why we see a lot of divergence in how technologies are being developed. And we want to explore who will be the leaders in low carbon technology development. Will we see different technological solutions emerging in China, in France, in Germany, in Denmark, and India?
That sounds quite challenging. And as I heard before, there are a couple of partners from different countries involved. So you had partners coming from China, partners from European countries, Germany, Denmark, I heard. How did you organize and structure the work in the research project in this network?
Well, this was indeed challenging. It was really a new type of research. Although all the participating institutions, the Tsinghua University in China, the Institute of Development Studies in Sussex in the UK, the Indian Institute of Technology in Delhi, and our institute, the German Development Institute, we are all experienced in international cooperation, but this type of research we have never done before. We had like 16 researchers involved in the case studies, and we did not divide the work by packages, such as the Chinese doing the research on the Chinese technologies and the Danish on the Danes and on the Danish technologies, but we formed mixed teams. So we invited Indians, Danish, British, German scholars to visit companies in China, and we brought the Chinese and Indians and Europeans to firms like Daimler and Bosch in Baden-Württemberg. And this was really an eye-opener for all of us, because during these discussions we saw that we frame things differently, we understand things differently. And also the publications that we brought out were all joint published with 3 or 4 authors from different nations generally.
This sounds like this project was quite an international challenge, and the members made experiences quite in an intercultural way. So what exactly did you find out? What are your research results coming out of this project?
Well, we actually found a lot of differences between the low-carbon technologies that developed in the different countries. Not only between the Asian countries, China and India, versus Europe, but also within Europe. For example, between France and Germany, there are big technological differences depending on the policy setting. So what we found is that demand conditions, what consumers want to have, what kind of cars they want to drive, what kind of energy they want to consume, make a big difference. Of course, the purchasing power, how much money people spend on technologies, and the regulatory environment of the government. All these things really shape different technology choices and technological development pathways. We looked at 2 types of technologies in depth. One is on wind turbines, and the other one was on electric mobility, electric vehicles, but also the way charging infrastructure is developed, for example, for electric vehicles to charge electricity and so on.
Why did you choose these 2 examples?
Well, we chose them because wind turbines are fairly mature technologies and fairly homogeneous. So basically what wind turbines produce is energy. So there's no need to create energy in different ways for Chinese or German consumers. But of course the geographic conditions may change. So for example, there were big differences in terms of the Danish and German firms focusing more and more on offshore solutions with big turbines, etc., and the Chinese more on land sites with smaller turbines. And the turbine design is slightly different, but overall in wind turbine as a mature technology we did not find that much difference. In electric vehicles, the vehicle that people want to drive, the type of mobility they want is different. It depends on cultural patterns, it depends on how many people can spend on a car, on the prestige attached to a car and so on. So there we did find lots of interesting differences. And for example, there were very different technological solutions in China for electric vehicles. They test, for example, low-speed vehicles, very simple vehicles which nobody would buy in Europe. They test battery swapping, whereby you don't charge the battery in the car, but you take the empty battery out and the full battery in, which is not possible in European cars because they have very specific batteries. So these examples really show that different solutions are being developed for different contexts.
You gave us quite an interesting overview of all the details of the project. You gave us examples of the studies. So have all these examples and study results been published yet, or are you thinking about publishing them?
Well, we have already brought out quite a number of publications. The first thing we brought out was a special issue of the journal Innovation and Development, which was then later published as a book, a Routledge book titled Sustainability-Oriented Innovation Systems in China and India. And then we did a lot of country case studies on the electric vehicles in India, on the wind turbines in Denmark and so on. And so these are published in the series of the German Development Institute's discussion papers. And then these are the specific case studies. And then the inter-country comparisons, we wrote a lot of articles. And these are, I think, the most interesting publications. They're coming out as a special issue of Science and Public Policy this year. Electronic versions are already available.
Having heard this sounds like there was quite an impressive output resulting from the research project. I thank you so much for this interview today. And I really hope that your research results contribute to a better understanding of how low carbon development technology functions in other countries. And I also thank you for listening today, and if you're interested in further information, please visit our website. You'll find all the available information on the project as well as on the publications on our website.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.